They didn't just bring a fruit across the ocean. They brought a weapon disguised as salvation. 450 pounds of food per year. Zero effort, zero fertilizer, zero pesticides, one tree, one backyard, enough food to feed a family. But they gave it a name, designed to destroy its dignity. Slave food. This is the story of a fruit that fed empires, was weaponized by colonizers, and forgotten by history. Until now. It started 3,000 years ago, with a civilization most people have never heard of, the Lapita. They weren't conquerors. They weren't warriors. They were sailors and navigators. They crossed thousands of miles of open ocean without maps, without compasses, using only the stars and the waves and their memory. But they never sailed alone. Every canoe carried the same cargo. Not gold, not weapons, breadfruit, one tree. 25 years of continuous harvest, no replanting, no cultivation, no irrigation. Just fruit falling from the sky, month after month, year after year. The Lapita understood something modern civilization has forgotten. Food security doesn't come from supermarkets. It comes from trees. For 1,000 years, they spread this plant across the Pacific. From Papua New Guinea, to Fiji, to Tonga, to Samoa, everywhere they went, they planted breadfruit first. Then they built houses. Then they built temples. Because without food, nothing else matters. The Lapita knew this. They built their entire civilization around a single tree. And then, the plant that fed empires reached paradise, Hawaii. When the first Polynesians arrived, they didn't find paradise. They created it. And their most important tool, breadfruit. The Hawaiians called it ulu, sacred, a gift from the gods. They didn't just eat it, they worshipped it. They carved it into tools, wove its bark into cloth. They roasted it, fermented it, buried it underground in special pits for storage. And when they dug it up 20 years later, still edible, still nutritious, still feeding families. One family, one tree, food security for generations. No landlord, no grocery store, no supply chain, just independence. The Hawaiians spent centuries perfecting this plant, breeding new varieties, selecting for taste, for storage, for different climates. By the time Europeans arrived, Hawaii had over 80 varieties of breadfruit, 80 different types of freedom, growing in their backyards. Can a single fruit really change the course of history? The British thought so, and what they did next would turn this sacred food into a weapon. The year was 1688. The British had a problem. Their sugar plantations in the Caribbean were making them rich, but their slaves were starving. Importing food was expensive. Growing food took land away from sugar, and dead slaves didn't harvest. They needed a solution, a cheap, easy, abundant source of food that required no work and no valuable land. Enter Sir Joseph Banks, President of the Royal Society, the most powerful scientist in the British Empire. Banks had heard stories from Captain Cook's voyages, stories of a miraculous fruit in the South Pacific, one that grew without effort, one that fed entire islands. Banks did the math. One breadfruit tree equals 450 pounds of food per year. Plant enough trees, and you could feed every slave in the Caribbean for free. The mission was clear. Bring breadfruit to Jamaica. And the man chosen for this mission would become one of the most infamous captains in history. HMS Bounty, December 1787. Captain William Bligh. 46 men, one mission. Bring back breadfruit The journey to Tahiti took 10 months. 10 months through storms, 10 months through freezing cold, 10 months of Bly's discipline. Bly was obsessive, not about his crew, about the plants. He had the ship's cabin converted into a greenhouse. 1,015 breadfruit seedlings, each one more valuable to Bly than any sailor. When they finally reached Tahiti, the crew found paradise. Warm beaches, friendly locals, freedom. They stayed 5 months. 5 months collecting breadfruit. 5 months falling in love with the island. 5 months watching Bly prioritize plants over people. The plants got fresh water. The crew got rationed. The plants got protection from sun. The crew got punished. By the time they left Tahiti, the crew had made a decision. They weren't going home. April 28th, 1789. 4 weeks after leaving Tahiti, Fletcher Christian, Bly's first mate, had had enough. At sunrise, Christian and 18 loyal men stormed Bly's cabin. They tied him up. They pointed muskets at his face, and they gave him a choice. They didn't want the ship. They didn't want gold. They didn't want power. They wanted something the British Empire couldn't give them. They wanted to go back to Tahiti, back to paradise, back to freedom. Bly and 18 loyalists were set adrift in a 23-foot launch, no maps, minimal supplies, open ocean, 47 days at sea, 3,800 miles. It should have been a death sentence, but Bly was a navigator. Against all odds, he survived. The mutineers vanished. And the breadfruit? 1,015 seedlings thrown into the ocean. What would you do? With 450 pounds of free food every year, the British weren't done. 4 years later, they tried again. This time, they succeeded. And what happened next would change the Caribbean forever. February 5th, 1793. HMS Providence reaches Jamaica. Cargo, 663 breadfruit plants. This time, they made it. The plantation owners were ecstatic. Free food for slaves. No more importing expensive provisions. Pure profit. Within years, breadfruit spread across the island. Then to Barbados, to Trinidad, to the entire Caribbean. But here's what the plantation owners didn't expect. The slaves didn't want it. You see, you can't eat breadfruit raw. It's starchy, bitter, unpleasant. But cooked, roasted, like a potato, fried, like a plantain, mashed, like a yam. One fruit, endless possibilities. Slowly, the people learned. Not because they were told, but because they had to survive. They turned a colonizer's solution into their own sustenance. They took the food forced upon them and made it part of their culture. Today, roasted breadfruit is a Jamaican staple, served with ackee and saltfish, a national treasure. But for 200 years, it carried a different name. Slave food, that's what they called it. Not because it was low quality, not because it lacked nutrition. Breadfruit contains more protein than rice, more potassium than bananas, more fiber than most vegetables. They called it slave food to strip away its dignity, to make it shameful, to make the people who ate it feel less human. For generations, this label stuck. Families who once survived on breadfruit stopped growing it, stopped cooking it, stopped talking about it. The colonizers won, not by destroying the plant, but by destroying its reputation. 3,000 years. From Lapita canoes to British warships. From Hawaiian temples to Jamaican plantations. One plant survived everything, supported everything, fed civilizations that no longer exist. Why did we forget? The plant that saved civilizations. Maybe we don't have to. And if you're watching this from Florida, or Hawaii, or Puerto Rico, or anywhere in USDA Zone 10 or 11, you already have everything you need. One tree, your backyard, 450 pounds of food every single year. No fertilizer needed, no pesticides needed, no special skills needed, just plant it. The same tree that fed the Lapita, that crossed oceans on HMS Bounty, that survived slavery and shame, could be growing in your backyard right now. The knowledge they tried to erase is still here, waiting. They called it slave food, to strip away dignity from the people who grew it. But here's the truth they didn't want you to know. Food that sustains life, sustains dignity, and now you can grow it yourself. The knowledge they tried to erase is waiting in your garden. If this story opened your eyes, subscribe. Not for me, for the algorithm. Because every subscription tells YouTube that history like this matters. And if you're in Zone 10 or 11, drop a comment. Tell me where you're planting yours. The fruit that fed empires is waiting for you.